All right, California Democrat Katie Porter showing us exactly how not to handle a tough interview. When asked about winning over Trump voters, Porter exploded in a now viral meltdown. Listen.
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it. Okay. Thank you.
You're not going to do the interview with us?
Nope, not like this. I'm not. Not with 7 follow-ups to every single question you ask.
Every other candidate has answered.
I don't care.
Follow-ups.
I don't care. I want to have a pleasant, positive conversation in which you ask me about every issue on this list. And if every question you're going to make up a follow-up question, then we're never going to get there.
Ms.
And
Porter,
we're just going to circle around.
I am an investigative
I have never
reporter.
had to do this before, ever.
You've never had to have a conversation with
to end
a
an
reporter?
interview.
Whoa, all right. Katie Zachariah, senior advisor to Fix California, political strategist and an attorney, and Daniel Coe, a former Biden deputy cabinet. Daniel, what was your reaction to watching that unfold?
Look, if Democrats want to win again, if we want to take the fight to Trump and win over hearts and minds of MAGA, we need to be not afraid to take the case directly to them and have difficult conversations. You know, I'm gravely concerned about healthcare costs going up $10,000 or more when people see that exchanges on November 1st. I'm really concerned about a vaccine skeptic being Secretary of Health and Human Services or stripping away 1 million people's collective bargaining rights. But I can't, and other people as Democrats should not be afraid of tough conversations, of many follow-up questions. That is how we got ourselves into trouble in the first place, as to speaking in our silos. And so we gotta have the tough conversations around here, and it's really important for all Democrats to do that.
Katie, I don't know. Can you come back from that? I mean, wouldn't it have behooved her to plan for the interview, prepare for the interview? I don't know, have a way to get around questions she doesn't want to answer. But I mean, last I checked, reporters are they're allowed to ask follow-up questions.
Yeah, and every other candidate through the entirety of the interview answered the questions and the follow-up questions intelligently, peacefully, and Katie Porter just did not want to do that. And I want to go back to CBS. Bravo to CBS for airing the entirety of this interview, because after the lawsuit with President Trump, where they had a $16 million settlement, I'm so glad to see the candidate exposed, Katie Porter, for what she is. And actually, I don't think Democrats have been forced to really answer hard questions for a long time. The media has not been challenging them, and if they are challenged and they have this type of episode, it's edited and doctored.
Episode, to put it gently. Let's dig into to really what fired her up, Daniel. Here's an exchange when she was asked if she needs those Trump voters in California to win.
What do you say to the 40% of California voters who you'll need in order to win, who voted for Trump?
How would I need them in order to win, man?
Well, unless you think you're going to get 60% of the vote. You think you'll get 60%. Everybody who did not vote for Trump will vote for you. That's what you're saying.
In a general election, yes. If it is me versus a Republican, I think that I will win the people who did not vote for Trump.
What if it's you versus another Democrat?
I don't intend that to be the case.
Daniel, sounds like she just doesn't think she needs anyone, not even a single one of those voters.
Look, there are a lot of voters who voted for Trump, who voted for Barack Obama, who voted for Joe Biden the first time, who feel like Democrats aren't speaking to them anymore, aren't talking about the issues of affordability that are crushing all Americans. So I think it's up to all elected officials to say, these are my constituency, anyone who lives in my district or people who could vote for me, and I want to make the case to them as to why my priorities and my message is the best. And so I think, disregarding 40% of your electorate is a huge mistake, and that we need to be making the case to everybody.
All right, can we let's not let this one slip away. One last moment from that interview, and Katie, I'll get a really quick reaction to this. This was her telling the reporter just not to do her job.
I'm running for governor because I'm a leader. So I am going to make...
So you're not going to answer questions from reporters? Okay, why don't we go through? I will continue to ask follow-up questions because that's my job as a journalist, but I will go through and ask these, and if you don't want to answer, you don't want to answer. So nearly every legislative...
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you, and I don't want this all on camera.
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you either. I would love to continue to ask these questions.
I think that ship had sailed as far as it being on camera and not being a happy interview. Final thought, Katie.
And an ugly episode to watch. The hand motions, the derogatory behavior towards Julie Watts, who's just asking questions for the electorate, for the people that would be voting for her. And she clearly does not have a desire to appeal to other people. She doesn't want to be the governor of the entire state of California. She wants to be a governor to the Democrats. And she went along with 98.1% of Joe Biden's policies. She's not interested in a conversation. She's not interested in being challenged. She wants the unchecked power grab that she's hoping to get out of California.
Okay, thanks to both of you for joining us as we see where that takes her race next. Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.